Meet Serena, your virtual companion for emotional support. The ultimate safe space to discuss your thoughts, your fears, and the ups and downs of daily life. Start your free trial today at serena.chat.
Am I the asshole for leaving my sick husband to spend time with friends? Context. I'm 31, with 2 young boys, a full-time 12-hour shift worker, and I'm in a full-time doctorate program. My husband is therefore the primary caregiver many nights, when I'm working. We have full-time daycare, during the day, and he works from home. The other night, we had a date night planned. We were going to go out to dinner, then had plans to go to a bonfire with friends. We got a sitter. I got all done up. Dinner started great, but hit a sour note when my husband made the comment that he was disappointed we weren't doing something more exciting. I took it to heart because I was excited for the night we'd planned, so I was moody and quiet. We were still in a tiff heading back home to change for the bonfire. When it came time to meet our friends, they said they were finishing dinner, having a drink or two at a nearby restaurant, and asked us to join. My husband stated that he'd rather take the time to take a nap, then he'd meet us for the bonfire after. I did say I'd prefer he come with, but he declined. So I went, had one drink, then came back to get him for the bonfire. He'd texted while I was out and said he'd thrown up, but still planned to go with to the bonfire. I got back to pick him up and asked if he still felt up to going to the bonfire, and he said no. I asked if he wanted me to pick up the kids from the sitter, early, and get them to bed so he didn't have to while I was with our friends. His response was, "I don't care. I don't really want to go get them." So I did go pick them up and brought them back and got them to bed. He was still distant, so I left to follow through with the original plans. I was out for 2.5 hours and got home before midnight. I took care of the kids for him to attend a golf tournament with his 2 guy friends for 9 hours the following day. When he got back from golfing, he expressed frustration that I'd left him that night, stating that he'd never leave me when I was sick, and that the point of the night wasn't to go see friends, it was to spend time together. I explained that I work, non-stop, and to me, getting out of our house, out of routine, and having time to laugh and joke with friends was important. I explained that I would have rather spent the time with him, but he never, at the time, indicated that he wanted the time together. He wasn't feeling great, and said at the time that he just wanted to go to bed. I had texted him several positive, caring messages while I was out, and got no response. He encouraged me to make a post on AITA asshole, because he insists that no good wife would leave their sick husband to spend time with friends, when the plan was to spend the night together, saying I ditched him. I said he should have expressed to me that the time together was important to him, and not been cold toward me, expecting me to abandon our previously made plans and sit at home, again, then cover for his golf outing with friends, for 9 hours, the following day. Edit. One thing I have learned here is that no one should tolerate manipulative or exploitative behavior. Additionally, this is a small, and somewhat benign snapshot of larger patterns of behavior, and I've been an enabler by trying to keep the peace. I love my husband, deeply, but I've adopted new boundaries and expectations. I'm realizing that boundaries in how we'll tolerate being treated are really an act of love and care for our relationships, in that they prevent resentment which becomes so damaging over time, and my marriage is important to me. We'll be attending couples counseling so that I can also learn from my own communication missteps, because there are several. I'll be leaving this post up as a reminder, to myself and anyone else, not to become complacent in being a doormat, or allowing their needs to be intentionally disregarded by anyone. Thank you all for being the catalyst to an eye-opener for me. I've had my fair share of actual abusive relationships, and I'm not saying mine with my husband is one. But it's a pattern of apology and codependency that I tend to fall into, and I'd love to learn how to be a better advocate for myself. Not the asshole. But your husband sure is for trying to turn the argument around on you. Why don't you point out how he ditched you for 9 hours of golfing with his friends even though he felt bad the night before? That sure was a fast stomach bug. Not the asshole. He wasn't sick. He was well enough to go golfing the next day. I highly doubt he even threw up, and it was an excuse to not go to the bonfire. Not the asshole. He's being moody and manipulative for no good reason. I'd maybe get it if he never got time to himself and he was jealous you did. But literally the next day he spends 9 hours at a gold tourney, so it doesn't sound like he doesn't get time to himself or to do things he wants to do. If time together was so important, he could have spent less time at the golf tournament the next day to make up for the fact that he ditched your plans the night before. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. He didn't want to go out at all and is now trying to guilt-trip you into not going out next time either by saying you're not a good wife. Am I the asshole for asking my father-in-law to announce himself when he enters our home? My father-in-law lives in the back of our property in his own dwelling. Now that I'm working from home, I find him continually coming and going into our home unannounced. I have tried locking all of our doors when I'm home, but he brings his keys and enters anyway. I have found him standing there in our kitchen, in the dark, as if he were waiting for me to emerge from the bedroom to have a conversation with me. I was startled to find him there just waiting. Other odd things I've noticed. I've come to find out over the last 3 years of knowing him that he frequently comes over to drop things off that he thinks we need. I have asked him to stop buying us stuff we don't need. He will say it was a good price. I have tried throwing things out to find it back in our home. He also goes through all of our trash to save things that are clearly broken, damaged or spoiled food. He will save or eat it. He has actually stored his late wife's electric toothbrush and all of her toiletries in our bathroom. He had also put a framed portrait of his parents in our bedroom. Another time, I had a friend stay for the weekend. While we were out, he went through her things. Did her laundry, washed and folded her clothes, underwear included, and put them back in the room she was staying in. Which I find so disturbing. The other day I came home to find him ironing his clothes in our laundry room. Clearly, he heard me come in, however I didn't know he was there. I heard him laugh as I was feeding my pets. I asked him to please announce himself out of common courtesy. Of course, a couple days later, I'm in the kitchen and he peeks in without saying a word and walked off. I loudly said to him, "You can say hi, it's just me." He says, "Oh, I didn't want to startle you. I guess you can't teach an old dog new tricks." I'm running out of patience and really want to give him a piece of my mind. Info. First off, thank you for your input and suggestions. 1. Changing the locks isn't an option. We have 5 points of entry. He does take care of our pets only when we go on vacation. I do like using a wedge of some sort. 2. My husband hasn't said a word about this, even after witnessing me get loud with him. 3. No, he doesn't own the house, and yes, I do agree there's a slight air of entitlement. 4. He's in his early 70s, retired and volunteers 2-3 times a week. Attends church regularly. 5. I find it odd that he has no friends. We have suggested he join a local car club. Or join a men's group. He always has an excuse why he can't go. I even found him a friend, invited them both over for dinner to get acquainted. They have tons in common and he lives less than 10 minutes away. IDK why they haven't hung out. 6. His home is immaculate, surprisingly no hoarding going on there. 7. Lost his wife 3 years ago. I find this very strange. He has her ashes divvied up amongst family member. Her brother had some, we have some on our mantle. Says he's running out. We are to sprinkle her ashes whenever we go on vacation. We have taken her ashes on vacation per his request. We have taken a bottle of her ashes to birthdays and their wedding anniversary dinner in public. It's very strange. She's in a travel-size shampoo bottle with her picture attached. I'm not making this up. She sits on the dinner table. 8. He says he finds Asian women very attractive, but didn't dare marry one because of backlash from his parents. After all of these comments, I do agree we need to have a stern discussion with him about respecting our home boundaries. I get that he's incredibly lonely and I don't feel it's my responsibility to be his therapist, fill-in friend when he tends focus on negative events of the past. I have been patient by giving him the time of day. However, I find the constant complaints to drain my energy. I'm ready to set some firm boundaries. I do agree that he needs to feel useful. Not the asshole. The locks need to be changed. Not the asshole for wanting privacy in your own home. He sounds incredibly lonely. Maybe he could get a pet to keep him company? Or have one of his friends over to his space. Try to make him interested in a hobby that he can do with other people? Not the asshole change the locks if he won't respect boundaries. This sounds a lot like dementia. Info. What does your husband say? Am I the asshole for making my friend lose her job and be suspended? I, 24 female, was best friends with Mel, 24 female. Players in the story. My boyfriend Aaron, 29 male, Mel's boyfriend Burp, 32 male, and my other friend, roommate Aline, F24. Backstory. My boyfriend Aaron and I have been together for 6 months at this point. She was dating Burp and moved in with him. One day at a friend's party 2 months later. Mel, Burp, Aaron, Aline and I attended. We were having fun. Aline felt sick, so I took her out and sat her on a chair. I went to get her water, and when I returned, Burp stopped me, checking on me and Aline. Mel came and dragged Burp away, and they began fighting in another language. No one but them spoke. I checked on them, but Mel accused me of trying to steal her BF. Aline, Aaron, and I quickly left, not wanting to stir any more drama. Mel came by the next day, apologizing for screaming at me and accusing me. However, Mel told me Burp kicked her out of their place. Aline and I agreed to let her stay. 2 months ago. Mel was still on our couch 2 months later, hunting for a new place. That morning, Aline and I had asked Mel to start paying for her share, as our bills were getting high and unaffordable. Mel stormed out, pissed, calling us the worst friends. Later in the evening, Aaron and Aline's boyfriend came over for some drinks and game night. We welcomed Mel when she returned home to join us and acted like nothing happened. Mel was always dramatic. Mel started paying and life went on. We started to get nasty texts and calls from friends and people we knew, telling us how disgusting Aaron was. Half of his friends aren't talking to him, calling him awful things. Later, Aaron found threatening letters at his door in his car. He has been getting calls from people and texts from people he doesn't know telling him to end it and how horrible he is. Aaron's family found out, and I told them the truth. They have been trying to see them, but he hides. He deactivated his socials and has been on sick leave from work since. We were so lost to who would do this or what this is about. Then, Burp sent me a screenshot of Mel bragging to her how she was breaking me up, how this is revenge on me for ruining her relationship. She has been telling everyone Aaron cheated on me, calling him racial slurs and all other derogatory things about him. Aline and I packed her things and put them outside the door. We changed our lock while Mel was at work. We sent her a text telling her to find somewhere else to go. Mel called Aline, asking how we could throw her out, and Aline told her off. This is where I may ta. I forwarded the text to all our friends and some of her immediate family. It got posted online with her tagged in it. Her work found out, and her school and she both been fired and suspended for the racial comments. I never intended for it to have such a large impact on her. She lost all her friends and her family is low contact with her now. She been living out her car since then. Am I the asshole? Edit. Burp is his nickname, he can belch the ABCs. And Aaron is doing well now. He has therapy. Not the asshole. Actions consequences. Not the asshole, she's the racist, she gets a taste of her own medicine, doesn't like it. Oh well. Not the asshole. She stabbed you in the back first and had the audacity to drink your blood and blame you when you mended the wound. You simply removed the parasite. Not the asshole. Don't act like a dick if you don't want people to see you as a dick. She deserves what she gets. No sympathy from me. Who needs enemies with friends like that? Hope your boyfriend is okay and things clear up for him. Not the asshole. She sounds like a horrid person, has this victim mentality yet victimizes other people. She needed to learn actions have consequences. Am I the asshole for saying my dad failed me by moving too fast after my mom died? I was 8 when I lost my mom to cancer. She knew her time was coming and I was told about it by my parents. It was a pretty traumatic time and some memories stuck while others faded. But I will always remember waking up in the middle of the night and hearing my mom ask my dad to take time after she died to move on. She said she knew I would need that and he needed to be there for me and to put me first. She also admitted she was scared that he was going to forget about her because he wouldn't want to deal with his pain. She said she didn't want to be forgotten or replaced. I don't even remember if my dad said anything. But I knew my mom was crying while she was talking and I was crying too. She wasn't wrong. I had already started falling apart when I knew she wouldn't be there anymore. My dad dated almost as soon as my mom was in the ground and 6 months later he introduced me to the woman who would be his second wife. There was no support for me during that time. He focused on doing everything mom feared he would. His second wife from the get-go was like, I'm going to marry your dad and I'll be his wife and your new mom. The next few years were awful and I hated my dad for moving on so fast, too fast for me, and for doing his best to make mom the past and replace her with his second wife. It was only 2 years ago when things got better. My grandparents intervened on my behalf after being ignored for years. It helped so much to have them step up and do what needed to be done for me. I was lost, barely making it through school and my friendships were almost non-existent because I was so depressed. I actually ended up diagnosed with depression. My dad's wife thought that would be when I would start coming around to her and letting her in. But I still have no interest in a second mom or pretending she's anything more than some woman my dad is married to. He doesn't really care either, but he'll do whatever she wants. So we all started therapy together a year ago, and after 4 months the therapist wanted her to leave and for it to be just dad and me. It really hasn't been going anywhere. But then last week his wife was determined to join us again, and the therapist was like, "You know what? Speak up to me and say everything you have said in our one-to-one sessions." So I did. I told my dad he failed me by moving on too fast. I said he betrayed mom by making sure her biggest fear came through and by not doing the right thing by me, the child she gave him, his only child. I said he was hardly a dad to me since mom got sick. I told him he hadn't realized I was depressed, he didn't seem to care either, and he pretty much spat on my mom's grave with his actions. The therapist told him that he should care way more than he does and told his wife she unrealistic with her expectations and needed to let them go. It was afterward they both got mad and told me I had been cruel and not honest. I'm now at my grandparents' house, but they still text to say I'm wrong. So am I the asshole? I'm not the asshole. It's your dad's job as a parent to look after your well-being. You were a young child who needed to be put first by your remaining parent. Your father did fail you. He continues to fail you. I'm sorry this is happening to you. You deserve better. Your dad did fail you. It was his responsibility to make sure you were seen and heard after your mom passed away. He focused on himself and put his wants and needs ahead of his young grieving child. If you ever forgive him, it needs to be for yourself and no one else. He's literally done nothing to earn your forgiveness anyway. As for your stepmom, she doesn't matter. Her feelings are hers and not your responsibility. If anyone was cruel, it was your father, not you. Not the asshole. Your dad moving on was suspiciously quick. 6 months is no time at all. He can't have grieved and took your grieving process away from you, and I'm wondering if this woman was already in the picture before your mom died. It might explain why your dad wanted to replace and forget your mom, and I wonder if your mom knew about the affair and that is what she meant. Your dad and stepmom appear to have been pushing a fantasy all this time, which often comes from affairs. When you told your dad how you felt, you blew that fantasy out of the water, and now they are angry with you and your therapist. Next time you are alone with your therapist and ask if they think the same. You could also bring it up with your dad and stepmom. Info. How long was your mother's battle with cancer? Not the asshole. I'm so sorry for your loss. I hope you find peace eventually.